If you want to know what you can do seriously after you file bankruptcy, just stay tuned. Okay, I've had people in my other profession, my other life, asking me what they can do after they file bankruptcy, and it's just, all over the place. So I decided I would make this video to be as clear as possible what you can do, because people are under the understanding that once you file bankruptcy, you don't owe anyone anymore and you can just get everything you want. Well, the first part is probably true, depending on if you filed a liquidation or a reorganization. You probably do not owe anyone. However, you cannot just get everything that you want. You have to remember that you have filed bankruptcy. You have decided there are some people that you cannot afford to pay. And now the world knows, because it's on all of your credit reports. Let's start there. Okay? So don't think you could just get out of bankruptcy and go get you a $25,000 loan from Huntington Bank. It's not possible. What you are able to get is secured loan, like a vehicle. And the reason you're able to get a secured loan is because if you do not pay, they will come and get their vehicle, versus an unsecured loan like a line of credit or a credit card. If you don't pay, then they don't get anything back and they don't get their money. So you are able to get a vehicle. Now, this is the catch with the vehicle. Your interest is going to be sky high, because you're considered what's called a high risk borrower, because you filed the bankruptcy. You will be able to get a car, probably any car that you can afford or provide proof of income for. Some people, which I do not recommend, go out and get their dream or their luxury vehicle. I just don't recommend that, because the interest rate is so high. It's going to take you about a year or two to reestablish your credit. You need a good 2 solid years of good credit to get a low interest rate. That's just the facts. This is the way the world is. You can have a 700 credit score 6 months from now, but you don't have that history. Your history shows a bankruptcy. So as long as it took you to get into bankruptcy, it may take you half that time, to reestablish yourself in the financial credit world. So if you're going to get a vehicle and it's expensive, then your interest rate is going to be high either way it go, but you're going to end up paying like another 20%. So to me, what I would advise someone to do is go get them a get around car. If you don't have cash to buy a cash car, which you probably don't because you just got out of bankruptcy, I would say maybe a $10,000 loan. Get you a decent car, because the plan is a year from now, because this is a secured loan. A year from now, you can refinance it. You have a year paying that creditor on time. That creditor knows you good for that amount of money per month. And the next creditor, if you refinance it through the same one, you have a history with them. If you refinance it through a different company, they still can see that payment history on time for 12 months for a secured vehicle. Try to get a vehicle that is not upside down, meaning you're paying more than what it's worth. You don't want to, I wouldn't say a buy here, pay here lot or anything like that. They more than likely will refinance you in a year. Take that car back. Then go get the car you really want. You've made payments on this vehicle. You've paid that down. So you're not in too deep. Then you go get your vehicle that you really wanted. I won't use the word Benz, but the car that you really wanted. Low interest rate. You may owe a little bit on the old car. You can put it on top of that. Very low interest rate, 2%, 6%. Your payments will more than likely be less on your newer car than it was on your older car, which we call a get around car, because the interest rate is so low. People believe they can go and give them a Benz or a BMW or a Cadillac as soon as they get out of bankruptcy, and they can. But your interest rate is going to be high. You're going to have to make that payment for a year or two to even get refinanced. It will not be refinanced in 6 months. Your credit score can be 750. It's not going to be refinanced. You are a high credit risk, and the creditor needs to see history of you changing your payment strategies or habits to show that you are going to pay them back. I hear people, I'm going to get a 700 credit score. You can get an 800 credit score. If you don't have that payment history, which you don't, they're not going to refinance you. The interest rate you have is going to be the interest rate that you have until you pay at least a year. So I'm making this video because I don't want people to keep getting inquiries and damaging their credit. You know, you're damaging your credit by getting these inquiries. You need to know this. Don't even walk into the dealerships. Don't go online. Don't get a broker, anything. Just wait it out. Make those at least 12 payments on that secured debt. And then go and refinance it. Okay? I just wanted to just at least talk about getting a vehicle. That's why you can get a car versus getting an unsecured loan from a bank or a credit card, anything like that. Okay, let's see. I took a few notes. Oh, what else can you get? You know, a lot of apartment applications you'll see, if you've had a bankruptcy in the last 2 years, they won't even lease to you. So I would say if you are considering bankruptcy and your credit is not too bad, you might as well get that apartment before you file bankruptcy. Because more than likely, if you have a history of bankruptcy 2 years or sooner, you won't be able to get into an apartment complex. Sometimes they'll waive that, and your deposit will be substantially higher, up to 3 to 4 times what everybody else's is. And if you file bankruptcy, who has that type of money sitting around? As far as purchasing a home, 2 years, sometimes 4 years after bankruptcy, they will allow you to purchase a home. You can purchase one prior to that, but you're going to need, like, the standard is maybe 10% to purchase a home, maybe 6%. You're definitely going to need 20%. So what I would say, if you're fresh out of bankruptcy, find you a land contract. Find you a homeowner that's willing to land contract that home to you. Land contract it for, tell them, 2 to 3 years, you know, while you're in the background reestablishing your credit history, and then in 2 years you finance it in your name or refinance it in your name through a bank, through a Wells Fargo, through a Bank of America, or your credit union. But just do a land contract. It doesn't have an effect on your credit, so that's great. Keep all of your receipts. That way you can use that to show your credit history. It's actually companies out there, when you're renting or land contracted, they help manage you and the landlord, so those payments are reporting on your credit report. Don't even fool with the banks, because they're not going to give you 100% of the financing. Now, if you got cash, by all means use cash, but I just don't want people frustrated going down these rabbit holes thinking just because you file bankruptcy you got your life completely starts over today and you can get all these things that you couldn't get before, because that's not true. And I don't want you out there frustrated trying to get something that in time you will be able to get. And I say this all the time too, people over the age of 40, which is myself, we have a problem after the age of 40. When we, you know, you file bankruptcy after 40, so your credit history is starting like you were 18, except for you 40. So you have to diligently, constantly work on your credit history, because your history is going to start from today, when it really started 25, 22 years ago. So we have to really be careful with our inquiries. We have to really be careful with the moves we make, because we're going to have the history of we're high risk because we're 40 and over 40, and we are trying to sort of live like an 18-year-old. So we got to really be careful, and that's why I said don't even go down those rabbit holes. Don't even do it. Okay. Some of the things you could do when you first get out of bankruptcy is get it's called a savings. It's called self-lender. I have researched it. I have used it. I definitely, you know, recommend it. I'm gonna put a link in the bottom of the box, but it's called self-lender, and it's a savings. You make a payment to them for 12 months. It's reported to the credit bureaus. At the end of your deposits to self-lender, they send you your money back. They're like holding the money for you but reporting it to the credit agencies as if they have loaned you the money. I think the minimum payment is about $48 a month, and that equals to about $500 at the end. And it definitely works. It's not a scam. It definitely works. Another great company is called Kickoff, and I tested it. Kickoff is kind of weird. It's like hard to believe. It's like they give you the money into a savings account, their savings account that they're managing. And then every month you go to your dashboard in their app and you pay $1 every month, one of their dollars, to this account. It's reported on your credit as if you have a loan from them and you're paying it every month, but you're using their money. Now later, if you decide you want to get a bigger account, then you want to pay out your own account, then you can do that. The thing with Kickoff, I don't think it's even a limit on how many accounts you can have. Maybe a limit of 5, but you can have as many lines of credit or credits on your credit report from this same company, and that will help your credit over time. So what we're doing, we're rebuilding. We're starting from scratch. So these things may seem little, they may seem minute, they may not seem important. 6 months, a year from now, you'll be able to get that line of credit you're talking about. So that was Self-Lender and it was Kickoff. I've tried them and they definitely work. And Old Faithful Fingerhut from 1980 something still helps you restore your credit. Get you a Fingerhut account. Please don't charge it up. They'll start you off sometime $100 to $300. Get it. Order you some spoons or something like that. Pay those off over 2 or 3 months. And then from time to time, just order something, $25, $35, just to keep the account open. They're going to raise your score. 6 months, if you're at 300, Fingerhut's going to give you 500. And they're going to give you 750. Then it'll go up to 1,000. Within a year, you'll have more than 1,000. If it gets reported to the credit reporting agency, it's critical. Get your Fingerhut. Okay. Let's see. I don't have a link for Fingerhut, but they're at fingerhut.com. Okay. We talked about cars. Just so you know, after bankruptcy, they prefer that you get a vehicle that is 5 years or younger, just because it's worth a little more. But remember what I initially said, you're going to be paying a little more because your interest rate is so high. So don't fall for that. It's usually 5 years or younger. Just say to dealership no, or individual, no, I just want something a little cheaper, a little cheaper, a little cheaper, a little smaller. And then remember, we got a long-term plan, a year, 2 years. We're going to go and get the car we really want at a little bitty interest rate. Let's see. You got to remember, the creditors are smart. They are smart. They know that you cannot file bankruptcy for years. So they will keep encouraging you, enticing you to get all these high interest rate items. You cannot fall into that trap. They know you can't file bankruptcy if you, heaven forbid, you default on that vehicle. They know you cannot file bankruptcy for 7 to 9 years. They're going to start garnishing your wages, levying your taxes. Okay, so just remember, yeah, it's shiny, it's nice, it's great. I deserve me a new car. I deserve these rims. I deserve these sounds. You may, but don't get in that trick bag. Wait and get, because you never know what's going to happen. You really never know. But you don't want to get into a vehicle with that high interest rate right after the bankruptcy, because if something should happen, you will still be responsible for their car. More than likely, it's probably a little upside down, and they're going to start coming after your assets. And this time you can't liquidate it because you just got out of bankruptcy. So they smart. All those things you get in the mail, I understand you're getting a lot of offers. Research it. Look at their reviews. Just be careful and be sure. Alright, if you guys have any questions or comments, or you want me to talk about a particular subject, just comment at the bottom and I'll see what I can do. I have a background in underwriting, bankruptcy, attorney. I have a history in financial. and credit management for too many decades that I even want to admit to. So if you have any questions or comments, just put it at the bottom. Again, thank you so much for visiting my channel.